The wind always blew a little stronger on the far side of Hollow Creek Ranch, and everyone in the valley said it was because the land still remembered the wife of Eli Turner. Eli had lived on that ranch with his beloved Sarah for almost 15 years. They worked side by side, laughed at the same silly things, and built dreams from the ground up. When Sarah passed away during a hard winter, Eli's world became quieter, slower, and full of empty spaces that once held her voice. For 2 years, he carried on quietly. He fed the horses every morning at sunrise, checked the fences every afternoon, and ended each day on the back porch with a cup of warm tea, listening to the distant sound of the river. The silence was difficult, but it was familiar. It was his routine, and he carried it like a heavy blanket he had no choice but to wear. There were days when neighbors passed by and waved, but Eli rarely talked for long. He wasn't rude. He just felt like speaking too many words might shake something fragile inside him. Still, even with all that quiet, he never once imagined that his peaceful evenings were about to change. It started on a Tuesday evening, one of those soft evenings where the sun melts behind the hills like warm butter, and the sky holds on to golden light for a little longer. Eli had spent the day repairing a broken water trough, and his shirt still smelled faintly of hay. He walked to the porch, cup in hand, expecting another simple night of quiet and memory. But the moment he sat down, he felt something different, something unusual. The wind stopped. Completely. It didn't slow down, didn't fade gradually. It just stopped, like someone had reached out and pressed their hands flat against the sky. Eli lowered his cup and frowned. Hollow Creek Ranch always had wind. It was part of the land. Its sudden disappearance felt like the world had taken a breath and forgotten how to let it out. Strange, he muttered. Just then, the horses in the nearby stable began to shift restlessly. They weren't panicked, but they weren't calm either. Their hooves tapped the ground in an uneasy rhythm. Eli stood up and walked toward the stable slowly, wondering if a coyote or some other animal was nearby. But as he reached the stable gate, something else happened. The ground gave a small, gentle shake, nothing dangerous, but enough to make the dust tremble and rise from the wooden beams. Eli paused. Earthquakes weren't common here. He placed one hand on a support post and waited, thinking it might have been his imagination. Then the second tremor came, slightly stronger, enough to dangle the lantern above the stable door. Eli's voice came out barely above a whisper. What on earth? The horses shuffled back, not from fear of the shaking, but as if something larger, something powerful, was approaching from the fields behind him. Eli turned, and that was when he saw the shapes. 2 shadows, massive, towering shapes that slowly grew taller as they stepped over a distant hill. For a moment, Eli thought he was seeing clouds, or some strange trick of the evening light. But clouds didn't walk. Clouds didn't cast shadows shaped like people. Clouds didn't move with quiet, heavy footsteps that made the ground hum. He blinked once, twice, even rubbed his eyes. But the figures only became clearer. 2 women. 2 giant women, each taller than the ranch house, stepping carefully, almost gently, across the field as though they didn't want to harm the earth beneath them. Eli couldn't run. Not because he was frozen, but because his mind simply couldn't understand what his eyes were seeing. The women were enormous, but they weren't frightening. Their faces were calm, almost kind, and their eyes held a glow like soft moonlight. Their clothes were simple flowing fabric that moved like mist, and their hair shimmered with colors he could not name. They stopped just a few yards from the edge of his field. Even from that distance, their size made him tilt his head back to see their full height. One of them spoke first, her voice warm and strangely soothing. Eli Turner. The sound of his name from someone so large made him take a small step back. But he did not feel threatened. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't shake the ranch. Instead, it felt like a song carried through the air, not meant to scare, only to reach him. The second woman knelt, lowering her massive frame until her face was closer to his level. Her eyes were bright and curious. "Do not resist," she said softly. "Tonight, you're ours." Eli's breath caught. The words themselves might have frightened another man, But something in her tone wasn't commanding or harsh. It felt like a warning, gentle, reassuring, as if she was trying to prepare him for something important. "Ours?" Eli whispered. "What does that mean?" The first woman smiled, a small, calm smile that carried no danger. "You will understand soon. We come with purpose, not harm. The land has chosen you, and we were sent to guide you." Guide? Chosen? Eli had spent his whole life working with soil, water, and livestock. He wasn't anyone special, just a rancher doing his best to live through loss and keep moving. "Why would the land choose him? I don't understand," he said honestly. "I'm just someone trying to take care of a ranch. You must be looking for someone else." "No," the kneeling woman replied, shaking her head gently. "We come for you. Only you." Eli felt something shift inside him, not fear, but a strange mixture of curiosity and confusion. A part of him, a quiet part that hadn't spoken since Sarah passed, wondered if this moment had been waiting for him all along. Maybe life wasn't finished guiding him. Maybe the world had more to show him. The first woman extended her hand, palm open. It hovered above the ground like a shimmering platform of light. "Come," she said. "There is a story written in the hills and the sky. You are meant to see it." Eli looked behind him for a moment, at his house, his porch, his fields, the life he knew so well. A life, safe, familiar, steady, but also a life filled with quiet sadness. He felt the stillness in the air again. It wasn't empty this time. It felt full, like the world was waiting for him to make a choice. He stepped forward once. "You're really not here to harm me?" he asked. "Never," said the kneeling woman. Her voice was gentle, like a warm blanket wrapping around his shoulders. "You are under our protection." Eli hesitated, then slowly placed one hand onto the giant woman's palm. It was surprisingly soft, warm, and steady, like touching the surface of a living hill made of gentle light. The moment he touched her, a wave of calmness moved through him, calming thoughts he didn't know were restless. As she lifted him carefully, the world below grew smaller, but he didn't feel fear. Instead, he felt something new, something almost forgotten. Hope. The other woman stepped closer. "Tonight is only the beginning," she said. "Your journey starts now." And with that, the glowing horizon around them shifted. The sky deepened into a bright twilight color he had never seen before, and Eli realized that whatever these giant women wanted to show him, it would change everything. Eli Turner had never been lifted off the ground before by anything larger than a horse. So when the giant woman raised him gently in her palm, he felt a strange mix of wonder and nervousness. But the warmth of her skin and the calmness in her eyes made him feel surprisingly safe. It felt almost like stepping into a dream he didn't remember having. The other giant woman stepped closer and looked down at him, as if she were studying a rare and precious stone. Her gaze was gentle, though, and full of respect. "We will move slowly," she said softly. "We do not want to frighten you." Eli nodded, even though he didn't think his voice would come out steady enough to reply. Everything felt unreal. The still air, the glowing sky, the quiet earth beneath them. Even the horses, though uneasy at first, had settled into a strange calm, as if they sensed that these visitors meant no harm. The kneeling woman stood up carefully, lifting Eli higher with her. From her great height, the ranch looked like a painting, flat lines, soft colors, and tiny shapes scattered across the fields. It almost took Eli's breath away to see his home this way. Small but meaningful, like a memory floating in the air. The taller woman stepped forward first, and with each of her slow steps, the ground hummed gently. It was not shaking with fear or danger. It was more like the earth was recognizing them, welcoming them. The woman who held Eli followed behind her. "Where are you taking me?" Eli finally asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "To the Whispering Ridge," the second woman replied. "It is the oldest part of this land. You must see it before the night changes." Whispering Ridge. Eli knew the place, they all did. It was a long stretch of raised land to the north, shaped like a sleeping animal. People went there to hike, or sometimes to watch the sunrise. It was peaceful, but he had never felt anything special there. At least, not before today. Why me? He asked again, because that question weighed on him more than anything else. The woman holding him lowered her eyes kindly. Because the land remembers your strength. It remembers your grief, and how you stayed gentle even when your heart was tired. It remembers your loyalty to what you love. Eli looked down, not sure what to say. He had never thought of himself as strong or special. He had simply tried to survive after losing Sarah. But hearing those words from a being so ancient and powerful made him feel seen in a way he hadn't felt in years. As the giants walked, the sky above them began to shift, though it wasn't darkening like a normal night. Instead, the colors thickened, deep purples, glowing blues, soft pinks moving like slow waves. It looked like the sky was breathing. Eli watched in silence until the taller woman spoke again. Tonight is not an ordinary night, Eli Turner. A gate opens only once, in many lifetimes. And when it does, the land chooses someone who carries truth inside them. Eli frowned slightly. A gate to what? To understanding, the woman answered. Her voice held a quiet mystery. To history. To memory. To the part of the world that ordinary eyes cannot see. Eli didn't know exactly what she meant, but something inside him believed her completely. Maybe it was the sincerity in her voice, or the soft glow in the air around them, but he felt certain he was on the edge of something important. The giants moved across the fields until the ground began to rise slightly. They were approaching Whispering Ridge. As they drew closer, Eli noticed something unusual, something he had never seen before. The grass around the ridge shimmered faintly, as though tiny stars were growing among the blades. The taller woman brushed her fingertips lightly across the glowing grass. The night is preparing for you, she murmured. The path is opening. Eli stared at the grass, amazed. Why is it glowing like that? Because the ridge is waking, the other woman replied. It knows we have come. When they reached the foot of Whispering Ridge, both women stopped. The woman holding Eli knelt again and brought him to the ground with gentle care, letting him step onto a patch of shining grass. The moment his boots touched the earth, the glow brightened slightly. Eli felt a warm wave ripple through the soil, traveling up through his legs and into his chest. It wasn't painful. It was like the land itself was greeting him. He took a step forward, then another. Feeling the warmth follow him, he noticed that wherever he stepped, the glow spread, as if marking his path. The taller woman spoke behind him. You must walk alone from here. Eli turned. Alone? Because the ridge will only speak to the one it has chosen, she said. We will remain close, but the next steps must be yours. Eli looked back toward the ridge. It rose gently before him like a sleeping giant, calm and unmoving. But the air around it shimmered softly, as if something hidden lay beneath its surface. He took a slow breath and began to walk. As he climbed the first slope, the world around him grew strangely quiet, not empty, but full, like silence that had something inside it. The colors in the sky deepened, and soft lights danced at the edges of his vision. When he reached the top of the ridge, he saw something he had never seen before. A long, narrow crack in the earth, glowing with a pale silver light. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't deep. It looked like a soft tear in the world, a space where light breathed through the land. Eli stepped closer, feeling its warmth. A soft voice rose from the crack, like a whisper carried on wind that didn't exist. Eli Turner, do not be afraid. Eli froze. That was not the voice of the giant women. It was lighter, older, and sounded like it came from everywhere at once. Who's there? Eli asked softly. The land, the voice replied. The memory of all that was. The keeper of all that will be. Eli swallowed hard. Why me? He asked for the third time. Because he needed to understand. Because you listen, the voice answered gently. Because you carry kindness even in sorrow. Because you walk with truth, and truth opens the path. Eli looked down at the glowing crack. His heart pounded, but not from fear, from anticipation. Something inside him felt drawn to this light, like a seed reaching for warmth. "Step closer," the voice said. "Place your hand upon the light." Eli hesitated only for a moment. Then he knelt, reached down, and placed his hand gently over the glowing crack. The moment he touched it, warmth flowed into his palm, up his arm, and through his entire body. His vision blurred, not with darkness, but with light. A soft wind rose from the earth, not cold, not strong, but comforting. And then he saw them, not the giant women, other figures, made of shimmering outlines, standing in a circle around him. They were tall, graceful, and made of pure light. They bowed their heads slightly, as if greeting him with respect. Eli's breath shook. He had never seen anything like this. The voice rose again, gentle but clear. "You stand at the border of the inner land, Eli Turner, a place where memory takes shape. You have been chosen to learn what lies beneath the surface of the world." Eli felt tears in his eyes, not from sadness or fear, but from the overwhelming feeling of being part of something greater than himself. "What must I do?" he whispered. "Listen," the voice said. "Observe. Walk where we guide you." The light around him swirled gently, forming soft patterns in the air, lines, shapes, paths he couldn't yet understand. Then the voice spoke again, quieter, almost like a secret carried on the wind. "And remember, the journey will show you more about yourself than about the world. Be brave." Slowly, the light dimmed, and Eli found himself back on the ridge, his hand still resting on the glowing crack. The shimmering figures were gone, and the air was still again. Behind him, the two giant women approached slowly. Their expressions were calm, but their eyes held a new depth, as if they knew what the land had shown him. "You saw the first sign," the kneeling woman said softly. "The land has opened to you." Eli stood, his hands still warm from the light. He looked at the crack, then at the women. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. The taller woman smiled gently. "Now, Eli Turner, the real journey begins." End. Eli Turner stood on Whispering Ridge with the warm glow still fading from his hand, feeling as if he had returned from a place that existed just beyond normal reality. The two giant women watched him with calm patience, as if they understood everything he was processing. The sky above them continued to shift with soft colors, painting the world in shades he had never seen before. The taller woman spoke first. "You touched the memory of the land. Now you must learn why it called you." Eli looked at her, still catching his breath. "That light, those figures. Why did they appear to me? What do they want me to do?" "To me," the kneeling woman lowered her hand to the ground, inviting him to step onto her palm again. "Come, Eli. There is another place we must show you." Eli hesitated only a moment, then stepped onto her hand. The warmth of her skin felt comforting, like touching a familiar blanket during a cold night. She lifted him gently and stood tall once more. As the two giant women moved away from Whispering Ridge, the glowing grass behind them slowly dimmed again, returning to its normal, quiet green. The ridge looked almost ordinary now, except that Eli knew it wasn't. Something ancient was sleeping beneath it, and he had touched its memory. The taller woman led the way north, her steps slow and steady. The land stretched out beneath them like a peaceful sea of fields and hills. Eli had seen this land his whole life, but never from such a height. He noticed small streams he had never known existed, tiny patterns in the soil made by the wind, and paths animals had carved through the grass over many years. "Where are we going?" Eli finally asked. "To the Echo Valley," the older woman replied. "It is where the land keeps its deepest stories. You must hear them." Eli nodded, though he wasn't sure he was ready. His mind still held the voice from the glowing crack, calm, old, and gentle. It felt like the earth had spoken to him directly, and now it wanted to show him even more. As they walked, the air grew softer and cooler. The sky above darkened into a twilight blue. But it wasn't frightening. Instead, tiny lights appeared in the sky, floating like drifting fireflies but far above. They glowed softly, moving in gentle patterns. Eli stared at them in wonder. "What are those lights?" he asked. The taller woman looked up, her eyes warm. "They are sky seeds, small lights, that appear only on nights when the land is awake. They guide those who walk the chosen path." Eli watched them in silence. Every time a sky seed floated across the air, he felt a small wave of calmness settle inside him. It was as if the world was trying to soothe whatever confusion or fear he might have felt. After a long moment, the kneeling woman spoke again. "Eli Turner, there is something the land sensed in you, something it has not seen in a long time." Eli looked at her. "What is that?" "Balance," she replied. "Even in your grief, you did not become unkind. Even in loneliness, you did not close your heart. The land sees the truth in people, and it saw goodness in you." Eli didn't know what to say. He glanced away, feeling a soft ache in his chest. "I just tried to keep going. That's all." "That is enough," the taller woman said gently. "Sometimes continuing is the bravest thing a person can do." Eli felt her words settle inside him like warm light. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel weighed down by his sadness. Instead, he felt recognized. After some time, the ground below them changed. The grass gave way to smooth, pale soil that reflected the twilight sky. The landscape grew quieter, almost dreamlike. In the distance, a soft glow rose from a long, wide valley. "That is Echo Valley," the taller woman said, "the heart of the land's memory." As they approached, Eli could hear something faint, almost like distant music carried on the wind. It wasn't a song with words. It was more like a soft hum, rising and falling gently. The closer they came, the clearer it became. "It's beautiful," Eli whispered. The kneeling woman lowered him to the ground again, letting him stand at the entrance of the valley. The soil beneath his boots felt warm, smoother than anything he had walked on before. The air smelled lightly of wildflowers, even though he didn't see any around. "Walk forward," she instructed softly. "We will stay close." Eli nodded and stepped into Echo Valley. Immediately, the humming sound grew clearer. It echoed softly around him, not loud, not confusing. It felt like stepping into a peaceful dream. The land around him shimmered faintly, just like the grass on the ridge had done. But this glow felt deeper, older. As he walked, the hum shifted into soft whispers. At first, they were impossible to understand, like many gentle voices speaking at once, but slowly, they began to form shapes in the air, soft outlines, shimmering just beyond clarity. Eli froze as he saw the shapes. A man and woman walking hand in hand. A farmer planting seeds. A young girl laughing as she chased a butterfly. A family sitting around a fire, sharing stories. Workers building a cabin. A shepherd guiding his sheep. A rider crossing the fields at sunset. The visions were not sharp like real people. They were made of faint light and swirling dust. Memories of the land itself. Echoes of lives that had passed long ago. Eli whispered, "Are these people from the past?" "Yes," the taller woman answered. "Echo Valley remembers everyone who lived with respect and kindness. Their stories live on here." Eli watched as the glowing figures moved gracefully through the valley. They didn't notice him. They simply existed as memories, captured gently by the land. He felt a deep warmth in his chest, a mix of curiosity, respect, and sadness. So many people before him had walked this same ground, worked the same soil, lived ordinary lives filled with simple hopes. "Why am I being shown this?" Eli asked softly. "To remind you that you are part of something larger than yourself," the kneeling woman replied. "That every life, no matter how simple, leaves a mark." Eli stood still as another vision appeared, a young couple building a wooden fence together, laughing as they misjudged a plank. The memory was soft, warm, loving. It reminded him of his own life with Sarah, the days when simple things felt beautiful. His eyes grew misty, but this time the sadness felt different. It was gentle, not sharp. He felt a kind of peace in remembering. Then the visions shifted again. This time, a single figure appeared, a tall woman with long hair braided down her back. She stood on a hill, looking out at a wide field. Her expression was strong yet thoughtful. Eli frowned. "Who is she?" The taller giant spoke slowly. "A guardian of the old world, one of the first who ever listened to the land." The glowing figure raised her hand, and a soft wave of light spread across the valley. The hum grew warmer, deeper. Eli felt it in his bones. She learned to hear the land's voice, and the land trusted her. Eli stared at the glowing figure with quiet awe. "Did she become like you?" The giant woman shook her head gently. "No. We are born of the land's spirit." She was human, but she carried great truth inside her. And so she became a bridge between our world and yours. Eli watched the figure slowly fade. "Why are you showing me this?" The kneeling woman answered softly. "Because the land feels the same seed inside you, a bridge waiting to be formed." Eli's heart jumped. "Me? A bridge? I'm just a rancher. You are not just anything." The taller woman said kindly. "You are someone who listens, someone who feels deeply, someone who does not turn cold, even when life becomes heavy." Eli lowered his head, unsure. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "Strength does not shout," she replied. "Sometimes it whispers quietly and keeps moving, even when no one sees it." Eli felt his throat tighten with emotion. He had never heard strength described that way before, but it felt true. It felt right. The echoes in the valley began to shimmer brighter. One by one, the glowing figures faded back into soft light. The humming slowly softened again, returning to its peaceful rhythm. Eli turned back toward the giant women. "What happens now?" The kneeling woman reached her hand out to him again. "Now, Eli Turner, the land will show you its future, and you must decide your place in it." As he stepped back onto her massive palm, Eli felt a sense of purpose stirring inside him, small but steady, like a spark waiting to grow. He wasn't sure what lay ahead, but for the first time in years, he felt ready to walk toward it. The women lifted him gently. The sky seeds drifted around them like tiny stars, and the path ahead glowed softly, waiting. Eli Turner felt a quiet excitement as he was lifted once more by the giant woman. The sky above them was painted with the softest shades of twilight, deep blues, gentle purples, and streaks of glowing pink that moved like water. The sky seeds floated lazily above, sparkling faintly, guiding the way toward a place he had never seen. "Where are we going now?" Eli asked softly. "To the heart of the land," the taller woman replied. "It is the center where the past, present, and future meet. There, you will understand your purpose." Eli's mind buzzed with questions, but the warmth in the women's voices and the calm rhythm of their steps made him feel safe. He had learned that night that the land had its own ways of speaking, and that it chose carefully whom to show its secrets. He could feel, more than believe, that something important awaited him. The journey was longer than he expected, though the giant women moved with effortless grace. Fields and hills passed below them, forests of soft green trees stretching far into the distance. Streams glimmered like silver ribbons, and birds sang songs Eli had never noticed before. Even the wind seemed to move differently, gently guiding them forward. As they moved, the kneeling woman spoke. "Eli Turner, you have been chosen to carry memory. Not just your own, but the memory of all who have lived with respect for the land. That is why you have been brought here." Eli nodded slowly. "I don't understand fully. How can I carry so many memories?" "You will see," the taller woman said. "The heart of the land will show you. You must trust it." After a long walk, they arrived at a clearing unlike any Eli had ever seen. The ground glowed faintly beneath him, soft like moss. And in the center of the clearing rose a circle of tall, ancient stones. Each stone shimmered with light from within, and soft patterns moved across their surfaces, like a story being written in the air. "This is the heart," said the kneeling woman. "Step inside, and listen carefully." Eli took a deep breath and stepped forward, the soft glow of the stones surrounding him. The light was warm and soothing, filling him with calm energy. He felt the whisper of wind carrying voices soft, gentle, and ancient. He focused on the voices, letting them flow into him. They spoke of farmers who had planted seeds in fields long gone, of families who had shared meals and laughter, of workers who had built homes and barns. Each story was small, but together, they formed a vast tapestry of life. As he listened, he noticed another pattern in the stones. Shapes began to form not of people this time, but of paths. Paths that twisted and turned, crossed rivers, and climbed hills. They were paths the land had seen countless travelers take, and the light traced their movements carefully. Eli stepped closer to one of the stones. He reached out his hand, and as he touched it, he felt a wave of warmth that spread through him. The path in the stone shifted and moved as if it were alive. Then, a soft voice echoed in his mind. Eli Turner, your purpose is to guide, to remember, and to share, connecting all who have walked the land before you with those who will come after. Eli's heart beat fast. He thought of the life he had lived, the quiet days on the ranch, the love he had shared with Sarah, the years of caring for the land. He realized now that all of it mattered. Every small act of kindness, every effort to live with honesty, had led him to this place. How can I do that? He whispered. By listening first, the kneeling woman replied, and by acting when the time comes. The land will guide you, but you must carry the memory in your heart. As he focused on the stones, another light began to glow at the center of the circle. This light was brighter than any he had seen before. Gentle but strong. It rose slowly, filling the clearing with warmth. Eli felt a sense of unity, as if every life he had seen in the echoes of the valley was now part of him. The taller woman stepped closer and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. This is your moment, Eli Turner. Remember everything. Feel everything. And know that you are ready. Eli closed his eyes and took a slow, deep breath. The warmth from the stones, the hum of the land, and the gentle guidance of the women all surrounded him. He felt connected to the past, to the present, and to the future. It was as if he could hear every heartbeat, every whisper, every step that had ever been taken across these fields. Time seemed to stretch and fold. Eli felt the presence of those who had come before, of those who had loved the land and lived with honesty. He felt the quiet strength of his own life, the years of care and patience, and realized that he was ready to carry the stories forward. When he opened his eyes, the stones glimmered softly, their light steady and calm. The giant women watched him with quiet pride, their expressions gentle. You have seen the heart, said the kneeling woman. Now, you must return to your world. But remember, Eli Turner, you are never truly alone. The land, its memories, and all who have walked before are with you. Eli nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He stepped back carefully, and the giant woman lifted him once more. The world below seemed familiar now, but brighter, filled with meaning he had not noticed before. As they moved back toward Whispering Ridge, Eli realized he was not afraid of returning to his old life. The land had given him something more than knowledge. It had given him purpose. Every field, every hill, every stream he had known so well was alive with stories waiting to be remembered and shared. The taller woman spoke again, softly. Eli Turner, the night has changed you. Carry its lessons, and the land will guide you when the time comes. He nodded, feeling a sense of peace he had not known in years. I will, he said, voice steady. I promise. Finally, they reached the ridge where the glowing grass had first appeared. The kneeling woman carefully set him down, letting him feel the earth beneath his feet once more. The stars in the sky twinkled softly, and the sky seeds floated lazily above, as if waving goodbye. You may return to your home now, the taller woman said. But remember, Eli, the land's memory is always with those who listen. Eli took one last look at the glowing ridge, the valley, and the magical lights surrounding them. He felt gratitude, wonder, and quiet determination all at once. Then, slowly, he walked down the slope toward his ranch. The fields looked the same, yet different. The wind whispered gently through the trees, and the earth beneath his boots felt warm and alive. He smiled, realizing that the land was not only a place to live, it was a story, a memory, and a teacher. As he reached his porch, Eli looked out at the fields, the river, and the distant hills. The ranch felt like home in a new way. It was a place of love, loss, learning, and connection, and he knew that he had been chosen to honor it, to care for it, and to share its stories with anyone who would listen. That night, Eli Turner slept peacefully. For the first time in years, he dreamed not of sadness or loneliness, but of light, of stories, and of the countless lives that had walked these lands before him. He dreamed of the gentle hum of Echo Valley, the soft glow of the heart of the land, and the guiding presence of the two giant women who had shown him the path. When morning came, the world looked the same as it always had, but Eli knew the truth. He was part of something much greater than himself. The land had chosen him, and he would honor that choice with every step, every action, and every story he would carry forward. And so, life on Hollow Creek Ranch continued. Eli tended his fields, cared for his animals, and lived quietly but with new purpose. He listened to the whispers of the wind, the hum of the earth, and the subtle lessons hidden in everyday moments. And when he felt the gentle presence of the land, he remembered the night that changed everything. A night when two giant women guided him to the heart of the land, showing him that even a simple rancher could carry the weight of memory and the light of hope. Eli Turner knew, finally, that the world was full of stories waiting to be remembered, and that he was ready to listen, to honor, and to share them. And as long as he did, the magic of the land would never fade.